Yes, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Warzone Jones coming right at you. I just got through watching the main event of Bellator. Bellator main event, Stephen Bonnar versus Tito Ortiz. This was a very good show. This is actually my first Bellator show that I've actually watched the whole card. Like, I literally watched the whole damn card, and this was a pretty damn good show. Good night of fights. You probably was thinking that, well, maybe he will review the UFC pay-per-view, with the main event being Mauricio Verdum versus that other guy. I can't really think of his name right now, but that's just how much I care about that fight. I really didn't care about that. I wanted to watch Tito Ortiz versus Stephen Bonnar, and I gotta say, this was a pretty good show, and also it was free. So I chose this one, of course, over the one that I really didn't care really too much about, and I had to, well, I would have had to pay for that one. So let's get down to the card. This was a pretty damn good card, a real good night of fights, and we got a lot of KOs as well. It started off with none other than King Mo versus Joe Viapoldo. I think that's his name, Vitapol, I think his name, Joe Vitapol. And I think they started out with this fight because, well, they had the World Series of Fighting show on too. So everybody will figure, well, King Mo, he's a recognizable name, he's a recognizable fighter, he's one of the more well-known fighters in Bellator. And King Mo wins. You know, King Mo wins. He went out there and he went and did his thing. King Mo needed to win, man, because, you know, King Mo, some people might say at this point, his career in Bellator might have been a little disappointing, you know, like up and down. You know, he's not as dominant as some people would have thought that he would have been or wished. No, either one. So it was a good win for him. He went out there, he did his thing, he dominated, he ground and pound, he showed why he was a very good wrestler. King Mo, your winner by KO. Next, we got Mike Richmond versus Nam Pan. Now, I gotta say, this fight was short, quick. It was a real good knockout. Nam Pan, he just basically was just, he didn't look good. This guy didn't look good. And Mike Richmond, you know, he did his thing. He was just constantly landing punches after punches after punches. You know, he landed punches and bunches. He pretty much landed every single punch that he threw. And if that's going to happen, at some point, you're going to get knocked out. Now, the commentators were saying that, you know, he was basically sitting out there on the outside, you know, taking all his punches, not really giving good head movement. And from what I've seen, he wasn't really giving any good head movement or any movement at all. So that's why he basically got KO'd in the first round, Nam Pan. So Nam Pan loses, Mike Richmond wins, and it looks like he's going to get him a title shot. I don't mind. Next up, we have Melvin Manhoff versus Joe Schelling. I think I said his name right. Sorry if I did. It's either Schilling or Schelling. I believe it's Schilling. This was a pretty good damn fight too. Now, I've seen Melvin Manhoff before. I've seen him do a couple of KO fights. I've seen him have a couple of MMA fights. I thought this guy was gonna win, but unfortunately, Melvin Manhoff did not win. He loses in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. You know, he got knocked out, and you know, he was winning at first. You know, to me, it looked like he was winning. You know, he was winning the first round, but when the second round came, you know, somehow Melvin Schelling was able to punch through his guard because he had his hands up. You know, Melvin Manhoff, he had his hands up, but the other guy, excuse me, because, you know, I can't really remember these guys' names, because this is really my first time seeing some of these guys. Joe Schelling was able to basically punch through Melvin Manhoff's guard. So it was like he had his hands like this, and he was able to punch like within the inside of his guard. And that's when he got knocked out. When he went down, he went flat out. I'm talking about head hits the mat, toes curl. The man was put to sleep, period and point blank, by Joe Schelling. So Joe Schelling wins. This was his debut fight in Bellator, and we'll see where he goes from here. Next, we had Michael Chandler versus Will Brooks. This was for the championship title fight. Now, the way that this fight ended was so damn awkward. It was so damn weird. I never seen a fight in that way. But before we get to the end of that fight, the beginning of the fight, you know, this was a really good fight. You know, both guys was going back and forth. I felt like Will Brooks had won the first round. I felt like Michael Chandler had won the second round, maybe. But But then in the third round, clearly, Michael Brooks is the guy who went. Excuse me, no, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Will Brooks, once again, Will Brooks. You know, this is my first time really watching Bellator. I'm sorry, but Will Brooks goes out there and he wins the fight in the third round. And the way he wins is, you know, Michael Chandler, he gets up after getting punched, and then he starts waving off like he had enough, like he did, just like this. He's like, he had that look like I had enough. But the referee didn't stop the fight, and Will Brooks, he saw that. He just walked up to the guy and started punching on him. You know, he started landing punches and elbows, and then Will Brooks, you know, Michael Chandler, he had turned over. You know, he basically started defending himself. He stopped defending himself after he just got up and just said no. He started defending himself. And then I guess once he fully became conscious, he was asking the question of what happened, because he literally didn't know what had happened. So this was really, really awkward. Will Brooks gets up and he punches Michael Chandler. And when Michael Chandler gets punches, I'm guessing he was out on his feet a little bit. He was a little bit unconscious. He didn't know where the hell he was. You know, he took a pretty hard shot, and he was just doing his, like, you know, I don't know if he was daydreaming. No, he clearly was dreaming a little bit. So he wasn't really conscious. He wasn't really there. And that basically what cost him the fight. It's like he was knocked out, walking, moving backward, you know, standing up. You know, it's a little awkward to explain, but it is an awkward situation. It's an awkward way to be knocked out unconscious. But he clearly wasn't conscious. His mindset wasn't there. You know, it's like the lights were on, but nobody's home. So Will Brooks wins. He is your new lightweight champion. Next, we get the main event of the night. I really wanted to see this fight. Like I said in the beginning, I was really interested in this fight. Now, at first, I'm thinking, you know, Tito Ortiz, Stephan Bonnar, you know, both of these guys are old heads and, you know, Hall of Famers, shouldn't be fighting anymore. But the build-up intrigued me. So, thus, I made sure I went and saw this fight. This was a really good fight. Both guys went back and forth. And, you know, you can tell both guys are, like I said, they're getting older, most definitely, especially Stephan Bonnar. I don't think Stephan Bonnar is as good in shape as he once was, because, you know, Stephan Bonnar, it looked to me like he tired out a little bit in the second round. But Tito Ortiz, man, he does it again. He wins again. You know, some people might be shocked about that. Some people probably had Stephan Bonnar win, because, you know, we all know Tito Ortiz win record isn't really that great, but Tito Ortiz does win. He wins in the third round. He wins by unanimous decision. It was a pretty good, entertaining fight, a real good fight. And even after Tito Ortiz did win, Stephan Bonnar, you know, he falls down to the ground, not because he's tired or anything, but because he, you know, he's a little upset that he lost. Kind of like how he did with Forrest Griffin in their first fight, you know. He just falls down to the ground, and after that, Tito Ortiz sticks his middle finger while he was on the ground, and then threw water on him a little bit while he was on the ground once they had announced that Tito Ortiz was the winner. And even once the third bell had rung for the third round, after the fight was over, you know, he gave Stephan Bonnar the gun salute, the two-gun salute behind his back, and, you know, Tito Ortiz, he just doesn't like Stephan Bonnar. He really, really, absolutely hates Stephan Bonnar, probably just as much as he hates Chuck Liddell or Ken Shamrock. But, hey, what can I say? You know, it was a real good fight. Tito Ortiz talking about, hey, man, if you want a rematch, we might just get a rematch out of them. But they did have a pretty good fight. So Bellator put on a pretty good show tonight. They put on a pretty good some pretty good fights. You know, every fight, just about, yeah, we had a finish. We had a finish in every fight. So, a KO. So, a lot of people got knocked out. A lot of good fights. This was a good night of fights by Bellator. This is my first show watching Bellator basically all through. So, I enjoyed Bellator. So, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel. I do apologize for not really knowing everybody's names, because like I said, this is really my first time watching Bellator. I don't really know everybody in Bellator, so I know all their names it's there, but I might forget it a little bit. But I might just watch a little bit more. So this is Warzone Jones. If you haven't done so, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'm out. Deuces.